This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 3:09 p.m. Eastern. The clouds outside are breaking just enough to let thin light through. Not sunshine, just a pale glow, the kind that makes everything look bleached. The road is drying in patches, little islands of gray surrounded by puddles that catch the dull sky. A woman walked past with a plastic bag clutched to her chest, like it was worth more than gold. She looked both ways at every corner, but there were no cars, no one following her. She checked anyway. That's where we are now. Trust gone, reflexes sharp, everyone waiting for the next snap. I've been scanning the shortwave bands. At 2:41, I caught a strange tone on 10.118. Just a flat carrier, steady for 30 seconds, then gone. It came back 5 minutes later. No voice, no call sign, just tone. Could be testing. Could be someone marking time. Or maybe it was nothing, just a machine stuck in repeat. But in a world this fragile, even nothing feels like a signal. Reports keep coming. A caller from Pittsburgh said PNC locked its headquarters, sent staff home with no pay. He said he watched people press their hands against the glass, yelling inside, but no one came to answer. A man from Charlotte said every EBT terminal in the city froze this morning. He said families stood in line with carts, then walked out empty, some leaving the carts right there in the aisles. Insider note slipped to me just before I went live. Came from someone in FEMA. He wrote that emergency stockpiles are being guarded but not distributed. He said trucks are loaded and staged, but no signatures authorize release. He said, "We could feed cities, Noah. We just can't spend the paper." That's the line that gutted me. Food stacked high in warehouses, people starving outside, and no one allowed to bridge the gap. Calls now. 3 lines. First, Paul in Cleveland. His voice was flat, like he'd been drained. He said the lights on his block flickered, then went out, then came back with half the strength. He said refrigerators hummed weak, dim light bulbs flickered overhead. He said his neighbors came outside all at once, staring at the sky like it had answers. He said no one went back inside for a long time. Next, Carla in Baton Rouge. She sounded rushed, like she was hiding in a stairwell. She said her clinic was overrun this morning. She said patients pushed through the doors when staff refused Medicaid cards. She said a nurse barricaded herself in a supply room. Carla said she grabbed a handful of bandages and ran. She asked if she did the wrong thing. I told her no. You can't call it stealing when the system already abandoned you. Last, Ethan in San Diego. His voice cracked with static, but I caught the shape of it. He said the Navy base was sealed at dawn. He said sailors were turned away at the gate. He said they stood outside, waiting for orders that never came, some still in uniform. He said a helicopter circled, then flew off. No explanation, just locked gates and silence. It's 3:37 p.m. Eastern. The pale light outside makes the world look like it's already winter. My coffee's long gone, my stomach's empty, but the words keep coming. Every call, every whisper, every note from an insider builds the picture. The government hasn't just shut down, it's hollowed out. The skeleton's still standing, but there's no blood moving through it. If you're listening, keep breathing steady. Keep your circle tight. Write down what you see, because someone has to keep the record when the official pages go blank. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 4:05 p.m. Eastern. The light outside is fading already, even though sunset's still hours away. The clouds are stacking again, thick, heavy, almost purple. The rain stopped, but the air feels electric, like before a storm, except the storm is people, not weather. I can hear every sound more clearly now, A single car door slammed 2 blocks away, the faint hum of a generator somewhere to the north, the echo of someone shouting, and then nothing. At 3:46, I caught chatter on the GMRS band, voices out of Ohio. They said the National Guard blocked off part of Columbus, not to protect, but to stop people from leaving. They said trucks were staged near a distribution center, engines idling, but no goods moving. A woman swore she saw food stacked inside through a half-open bay door. She said guards told her to move along when she asked about it. She asked me if this is happening everywhere. The short answer, yes. Warehouses full, shelves empty, systems built to move supplies frozen because no one can pay the driver to turn the wheel. Another report, this one from Chicago. A man said the city posted signs on government buildings, closed until further notice. He said people tore the signs down and set them on fire in the street. He said someone spray painted the courthouse doors with one word, empty. That word chills me more than flames. Empty is what this whole country is becoming, building by building, hour by hour. Insider update. Someone in Treasury, who didn't give a name, said servers are in standby loop. That means the systems aren't crashed, not broken, just waiting, like someone pressed pause and walked away. He said, "Noah, it's worse than failure. It's limbo." I'll take 3 calls. First, Lila in Philadelphia. Her voice was sharp, almost panicked. She said SEPTA trains stopped between stations this morning. Passengers had to walk the tracks to the nearest platform. She said no one explained why. She said her teenage son came home shaking, said it felt like the city itself quit mid-step. Next, Robert in Dallas. He sounded tired, defeated. He said his bank limited withdrawals to $20. 20. He said people laughed bitterly when the teller announced it. He said one man threw a 20 on the ground and walked out, shouting, "Keep your paper." Robert asked if the dollar still means anything. I told him the truth. It means whatever the person across from you agrees it means. Beyond that, it's paper. Last, Sarah in Portland, Maine. Her voice trembled. She said the hospital generator failed last night. She said nurses begged for fuel deliveries, but the truck never came. She said patients were wheeled to windows for air because the ventilation shut down. She said she doesn't know how many made it through the night. It's 4:33 p.m. Eastern. The light outside is going gray again, that eerie in-between where day feels too thin to hold back the dark. My throat's raw. My stomach aches. But I can't stop, because silence would be worse than hunger. Silence would mean surrender. If you hear me, don't wait for rescue. Build your rescue where you are. Share what you can. Guard what you must. And keep talking, even if your voice shakes. That's how we hold the line. This is Noah Briggs. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 5:02 p.m. Eastern. The day is sliding into evening, but it feels like night already. The clouds are darker now, bruised purple and gray, and the air smells like wet iron. The street lamps just blinked on, but half of them are dead, and the ones still lit give off a weak orange glow that makes the block look haunted. I can see my breath fog when I lean close to the window. A dog barked once in the distance, then nothing. Just the hum of my inverter and the steady scrape of my pen on paper. At 4:18, I caught a burst of traffic on 7.238. A man identifying himself only as Harper said he had word from someone inside Homeland. According to him, federal buildings in multiple states have been sealed to preserve assets. That's the phrase he used. Preserve assets. He said it means people are locked out, while whatever's inside documents, equipment, supplies, is guarded. He said some offices even had staff escorted out mid-shift, told to leave their badges behind. The way he told it, it didn't sound like a shutdown anymore. It sounded like a lockout. I've been piecing scraps together from different sources. In Detroit, buses stopped. In San Francisco, city workers told to go home, indefinitely. In Florida, a caller said unemployment offices were surrounded by patrol cars, not to help the people lined up, but to keep them away. None of this is temporary anymore. It's the scaffolding of government stripped bare, leaving people standing in the rain with no one to answer the door. Insider note from someone who signed Orion. He wrote, "Noah, it's not lack of money. It's no authorization. Treasury can't move because Congress can't approve. Servers are live, but frozen at the approval layer. It's deliberate stasis," he ended with. "This isn't collapse. It's paralysis. That word cuts. Because paralysis means the body's still alive, but it can't move, and in that state, it withers." Let's open 3 calls. First, Miguel in Phoenix. He said supermarkets near him are dark, doors locked. He said people broke the side windows and climbed in, but the shelves were already bare, cleaned out the night before. He said a fight broke out in the parking lot over bottled water, and police rolled up, sat in their cruiser with the lights on, and didn't get out. Next, Janice in St. Louis. Her voice shook. She said the hospital where her sister works told staff not to expect paychecks this week. She said nurses are still showing up, but many plan to quit tomorrow. She said patients are lying on gurneys in hallways with no monitors because the systems are offline. She asked me if it's safe to bring her elderly father in. I couldn't give her an answer. Last, Devin in Boston. He sounded angry. He said he stood outside a Social Security office with his mother this morning. He said a guard told them to go home, that nothing would be processed. He said someone shouted, "We paid in all our lives," and the guard looked away. Devin said his mother cried all the way back to the car. He asked if she'll ever see a check again. I told him the truth. Right now, no one can promise that. It's 5:31 p.m. Eastern. The block outside is sinking into shadows. The wet pavement reflects the half-dead street lamps like broken glass. My stomach is tight with hunger, but my voice is still here. If you can hear me, don't mistake the silence of officials for safety. Silence is the worst sign of all. Keep listening. Keep your people close. And when the night closes in, stay low, stay dim, stay alive. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 6:02 p.m. Eastern. The light is almost gone now. What's left of the sun has been swallowed by heavy clouds, and the street outside is bathed in that dim orange haze from the lamps that still work. Most of them don't. You can pick out the dark poles one by one, whole blocks drowned in shadow, while the next glows faintly like a dying ember. The air is colder, damp enough that it seeps into the bones. My breath is a mist in this little room. At 5:42, I tuned across AM and caught a broken broadcast from somewhere near Baltimore. The signal was faint, but I heard the words, "curfew order." The voice said residents were told to stay indoors after 8 p.m. No buses, no trains, no exceptions. He said patrols are running in unmarked trucks with floodlights mounted on top. He swore the trucks weren't police, weren't guard, just uniforms without names. I lost the signal before I got more. Another voice came in from Indiana on 3.969. A man said the power plant near his town idled down. He said smokestacks stood cold, no hum, no heat. He said his father worked there and told him payroll was deferred indefinitely. No money, no fuel, no plant. That's the line repeated across states. No money, No service. An insider note passed to me this afternoon signed Harriet. She claimed she was with GSA until Friday. She wrote, "Federal buildings across the region have been told to shut utilities. Maintenance frozen. Security outsourced." She said contractors now hold the keys. That explains the strange uniforms at gates, the SUVs without plates. Not guard, not police, private. And private means loyalty bought by whoever signs the check. If anyone is still signing checks at all. Let's go to calls. First, Thomas in Atlanta. His voice was hollow, almost numb. He said every traffic light on Peachtree Street went black at once. Cars froze in every direction. He said people stepped out and waved others through, like they were clinging to some memory of order. He said, after 5 minutes, horns started blaring. 10 minutes later, someone smashed a window. He left before it spread. Second, Julia in Omaha. She sounded tired, defeated. She said her grocery posted a sign, "Cash only. Limit 5 items per person." She said she waited an hour for a single loaf of bread. She said a man behind her tried to buy 6 and was shoved out by 2 workers. Julia said the worst part wasn't the shortage. It was the way neighbors glared at each other, like enemies in line. Last, Peter in Los Angeles. His voice cracked with anger. He said the courthouse downtown was shuttered, metal grates pulled. He said a crowd gathered, waving eviction notices, custody papers, overdue bills, shouting at the closed doors. He said a woman fainted in the heat. No one opened the doors. He said someone spray-painted across the grate. No government. He asked me if that's the truth now. I told him yes. For now, that's the truth. It's 6:34 p.m. Eastern. Night is pressing in. The rain left the streets slick, reflecting those scattered streetlights like puddles of fire. The shop is quiet except for the hum of this inverter and the scratch of my pen. My stomach feels hollow. My throat burns. But I'll keep this signal alive. If you can hear me, this is the hour when fear sharpens. Keep your lights dim, your voices low. Stay together. Listen more than you speak. The night is longer now than it was yesterday. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 7:06 p.m. Eastern. The sun is gone. The block outside is black except for 3 street lamps glowing weak along Cameron Street. Every other pole is dead, and the gaps are like holes in the world. The shop windows across from me reflect nothing but darkness. I can hear water dripping from the roof into a puddle out back, steady and slow, like a clock ticking down. A siren wailed far off to the west around 6:52, but it cut out mid-howl. Since then, silence. The air in here is colder now. My fingers are stiff around the mic, and the battery packs are running lower each cycle. I keep swapping them out, hoping the inverter holds through the night. I've got one backup left. After that, it's just silence unless the solar panel gives me something at dawn. The bands tonight are ugly. At 6:30, I picked up a net out of New Jersey. A man shouted that Camden had gone dark. He said grocery stores were stripped, pharmacies shuttered, and people were dragging trash cans into the streets to light fires for heat. Another voice broke in, yelling that trucks are staged across the river, not moving. Then the line collapsed into static. A report from Chicago said ration cards were being whispered about. No official word, just guards outside a warehouse telling people, wait for cards, wait for announcement. But no one knows when or if. Rumor is spreading faster than food now. Insider word tonight comes from someone who signed her note, Anne. She claimed she worked in OMB until last week. She wrote, "Agencies aren't cut off. They're suspended. Orders exist, but can't execute. It's like every arm is tied with the same rope." She said the freeze wasn't coded as shutdown in the systems. The word used was hold. She ended with, "Don't wait for restart. There's no one with the key." 3 calls tonight. First, Sean in Detroit. His voice was tight, angry. He said the auto plants are ghost towns. He said he biked past one and saw security at the gate, but no workers inside. He said the cafeteria posted a sign, "Closed until appropriation." He said he doesn't even know what that word means anymore, but it felt like a joke pasted on a grave. Next, Angela in Richmond. She sounded like she was whispering into a phone booth. She said the grocery near her apartment let 20 people inside at a time, each given a paper slip to buy 2 items. She said people traded those slips outside for cash, like currency already. She asked if this is rationing. I told her, yes, Angela, it's rationing, even if they don't call it that yet. Last, Brian in Salt Lake City. He sounded shaken. He said the bank downtown was mobbed today, people pounding on the glass, demanding withdrawals. He said guards stood inside with shotguns. He said they never opened the doors. He said a woman screamed, "It's our money," until her voice broke. Brian asked if it's safer to keep his cash at home now. I told him yes, safer in your hand than locked behind a wall you can't break. It's 7:35 p.m. Eastern. The city outside has gone hollow. A dog barked again just now, sharp, lonely. Then nothing. My chest is tight. My voice feels like it's scraping the inside of my throat. But I'm still here. And if you're hearing me, you're still here too. Keep the lights dim. Share what you must. Hide what you can't spare. Don't wait for officials to fix this. They're gone. It's us now. Just us. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 8:04 p.m. Eastern. Night has set in. The rain has stopped, but the air is thick and cold, heavy with that smell of wet pavement and old oil. Out the window, the block looks like a ghost town. 3 lamps still glow dim. The rest are dead poles standing against the dark. The pawn shop across the street is nothing but glass reflecting shadows. A man walked past a few minutes ago carrying a flashlight, sweeping it side to side. He wasn't running. He wasn't shouting. Just moving slow, careful, like every step could break something fragile. At 7:41, I tuned into 3.969 and caught a net out of Maryland. A woman's voice came through, strained but clear. She said Baltimore imposed a full curfew tonight. She said patrols are riding in unmarked vans with loudspeakers, telling people to remain indoors until further notice. She said no one's saying who ordered it, city, state, federal. Just a voice through a speaker. She swore she saw guards in dark gear at intersections, no badges, rifles ready. That matches what others have whispered. Private uniforms, hired men, no accountability. Another report from Kentucky. A man said power lines sparked and went dark along a 10-block stretch. He said residents lit fires and trash cans on porches. He said police cruisers rolled by, lights off, never stopping. He said the silence felt heavier than the smoke. Insider tip, someone calling himself Trace. He said Department of Energy servers are locked at contingency. That means they're not offline, not broken, just frozen. He wrote, plants could restart, fuel could flow, but no authorizations push through. He ended his note. This isn't a failure. It's a chokehold. 3 calls. First, Nathan in Denver. His voice was low, steady. He said traffic lights across downtown are gone. Just black boxes hanging over empty intersections. He said drivers roll slow, windows down, hands waving, trying not to collide. He said it feels like the city forgot how to breathe. Next, Simone in Miami. She was crying. She said her grandmother's Medicare card was refused at the hospital this afternoon. She said the clerk told her, "The system won't process." She said guards turned them away. She asked me if her grandmother is going to die without care. I couldn't find words for her. I just told her to keep her grandmother warm, to keep water close, to try the community clinics that are still running on cash. It wasn't enough. Last, Tyler in Chicago. His voice was sharp, urgent. He said a crowd gathered outside a food distribution center. He said the doors stayed locked, trucks parked in the lot, engines silent. He said people began pounding on the gates, chanting, "Open it up." He said guards fired shots into the air. He said the crowd scattered, then regrouped, then scattered again. He said the food never moved. It's 8:33 p.m. Eastern. The block outside is black and hollow, lit only by those 3 lamps flickering like dying candles. My throat is raw, my stomach empty, but I'll keep this mic hot. If you can hear me, keep your circle tight tonight. Don't wander. Don't trust the silence. If someone knocks after midnight, don't open until you know the voice. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 9:01 p.m. Eastern. The street outside is almost pitch black now. Those 3 lamps that were glowing weakly an hour ago are flickering harder, like they're fighting to stay alive. Every time they dim, the whole block feels swallowed by the dark. I keep staring at them, waiting for the moment they go out for good. If they do, this street will vanish completely. The silence is deeper at night. I can hear little things more clearly. The creak of the roof, the buzz of the inverter, my own breath. At 8:42, I heard what sounded like gunshots far to the west. Could have been fireworks, could have been engines backfiring, but my gut says it wasn't. The sound carried too sharp, too flat. It stopped after 4 pops. Then nothing. The nets are noisier now. People are scared, talking more after dark. On 7.238, a woman said Philadelphia announced a curfew tonight, though she didn't hear it from officials. Just word passed along the street. She said the Market Street station gates were locked, trains inside sitting dead. She said she saw a man trying to break into a bodega, but others stopped him. Not police, just neighbors who didn't want the glass broken. That kind of fragile order is still out there, but it's slipping. On 3.969, a man from West Virginia said the guard sealed off a fuel depot. He said trucks lined up outside, waiting, engines off. He said the guards didn't speak, just stood with rifles. He said someone shouted, "We're starving out here," and the guards never flinched. An insider who signed his note gray told me that Treasury servers aren't down. They're set to auto-reject until appropriations resumed. He wrote, "Every agency is ghosting itself. The machines still hum, but no orders move. It's a country on pause, Noah. Not broken? Just paused, calls. 3 of them. First, Elena in New Orleans. Her voice was shaking. She said the city shut water pressure down in her neighborhood. She said faucets hissed air, then nothing. She said she walked to a corner store and saw people filling buckets from rain barrels. She asked me if boiled rainwater is safe. I told her yes, catch it clean, boil it 3 minutes, and cover it tight. Next, Derek in Minneapolis. His voice was flat, hollow. He said the grocery on Lake Street closed at noon. He said a crowd gathered outside waiting, but the owner came out with a sign that read, "No cash, no service, no exceptions." He said people begged to trade, but the owner locked the doors. Derek said someone threw a brick at the window, and that was enough. The whole crowd scattered like birds. Last, Ruth in Dallas. Her voice was tired, almost broken. She said her husband's paycheck bounced today. She said the bank told her, federal system hold. She said she cried in her car for an hour. She asked me if this will end soon. I told her the truth. I don't know. I only know that we're still breathing, still talking. And that's enough to hold on one more night. It's 9:34 p.m. Eastern. The street is nearly black now, those last lamps buzzing like dying fireflies. My throat feels raw, my stomach hollow, but my voice is still here. If you can hear me, keep your lamps low tonight. Trust your ears more than your eyes. If silence presses too heavy, remember, you're not alone. My voice is proof of that. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 10:08 p.m. Eastern. The lamps outside finally gave out. All three. Now the whole block is black, the kind of black where you can't tell where the street ends and the sky begins. My reflection is the only thing I see in the glass. My own face looking back at me in the dark. Every now and then, headlights sweep past from a lone car, then vanish. After that, silence. The quiet is a weight now. I can hear the drip of water through the roof somewhere in the shop, the hum of the inverter straining, even the blood in my ears when I stop speaking. I keep catching myself, holding my breath, just to hear if anyone's moving out there. Nothing. Not a cough, not a shout, not even the echo of a radio from a neighbor's house. This part of Harrisburg feels emptied out. The bands are alive, though. On 3.969, just after 9:40, a man from Kentucky said the interstate outside Louisville was blocked with concrete barriers. No warning, no detour. He said men in uniforms waved him off, told him to turn around. He asked who they worked for, but they wouldn't answer. He said the line of cars stretched for a mile, people honking, headlights flashing. No one was allowed through. On 7.238, a woman from New York said the blackout there is rolling. Whole boroughs dark, others lit, then swapped. She said she saw people carrying buckets of water up stairwells because elevators stopped. She said a man slipped on the steps, dropped his bucket, and just sat there crying while the water spilled. An insider tip came through about an hour ago from someone who signed his note Stone. He claimed he was in Treasury IT. He wrote, "Systems aren't broken. They're restricted. Payment rails ping back unauthorized. Even overrides fail. The machine is running, Noah, but no one can use it." He ended with, "It's like being locked in a car with the engine on and no keys." 3 calls. First, Haley in Detroit. Her voice was tight, rushed. She said the corner store in her neighborhood shut down after dark. She said the owner nailed wood over the doors. She said a small crowd gathered, banging on the boards, until someone fired a shot into the air. She said they all ran. Haley asked me if she should stay up all night to watch her door. I told her to sleep in shifts if she can, and to keep lights low so she doesn't draw attention. Next, Marcus in Boise. He sounded worn out. He said his town hall was locked today. He said the clerk inside taped a sign that read, "Funding not restored. Closed until further notice." He said he watched people stare at that paper like it was written in another language. He said one man ripped it down and stomped it into the mud, but it didn't change anything. Last, Dana in Chicago. Her voice cracked. She said she stood outside a Social Security office with her mother for hours today. She said guards came out and told everyone to go home, that there was nothing to process. She said her mother kept repeating, "They promised." Dana asked me if promises still mean anything. I told her some still do, but only the ones we make to each other now. It's 10:37 p.m. Eastern. The block outside is a void. The only light left is the weak red glow of my inverter, and the little beam from my flashlight, which I keep pointed at the notebook. My stomach's growling loud enough to catch on the mic, but I'll keep going. If you're still listening, remember, this silence isn't just yours. Others are living in it too. Hold on to that thought tonight. It might be the only thing that keeps the dark from swallowing you whole. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 11:02 p.m. Eastern. The black outside hasn't lifted. Not a single lamp has come back on. The block looks swallowed whole. Even the clouds have closed in, thick, heavy, hiding the stars. It feels like the world itself turned its face away. I stood at the glass for a long time, waiting for something to move. Nothing. Just the hollow street and my own reflection staring back at me like a stranger. At 10:48, I heard a convoy pass down Cameron Street. Engines low, tires hissing on the wet pavement. No sirens, no markings, just dark shapes rolling slow. I counted 5 trucks, maybe 6. Covered beds, floodlights mounted, but never switched on. They didn't stop. They didn't announce themselves, just passed like shadows and vanished. The silence after was louder than the engines. The bands tonight are full of fear. On 3.969, a man from Tennessee said their courthouse was locked, chained with heavy steel. He said someone had spray painted across the doors, closed by order. He swore the spray paint was neat, stenciled, like it wasn't vandals but officials who wrote it. Another voice out of Oregon said the National Guard sealed a bridge, only letting approved vehicles through. She asked who decides approval. No one answered. I got a note about an hour ago, slipped through the cracks by someone signing his quill. He said he worked with federal payroll until Friday. He wrote, "Every agency is flagged as pending. The system won't cut checks, won't move funds, won't release deposits. Not frozen, just waiting, like a hand hovering over a switch no one dares to flip." He ended with, "This is the first shutdown that feels permanent." Let's open 3 calls. First, Daniel in Houston. His voice was hoarse. He said the grocery by him posted guards at the doors, only letting people inside with cash counted in exact change. He said a man tried to hand over a card and was shoved back. He said someone shouted, "It's all worthless," and stormed away. Daniel asked me if he should bury what little cash he has left. I told him to split it, keep some hidden, keep some handy. Don't put it all in one place. Next, Louise in Pittsburgh. Her voice shook. She said her husband's insulin couldn't be filled because the system was down. She said she begged the pharmacist to take cash, but the answer was, "Not authorized." She said she watched a clerk lock the fridge behind the counter and walk away while people in line cried. Last, Jacob in Sacramento. His voice cracked. He said he saw the Capitol dome there, dark for the first time in his life. He said not a single light in the building. He said people stood outside staring at it, whispering. He said one man shouted, "They've abandoned us," and the whole crowd echoed it back. Jacob asked me if that's true. I told him, maybe not abandoned, but silent, and silence can feel the same. It's 11:35 p.m. Eastern. The block is nothing but shadow, the kind that presses in on the windows like a living thing. My flashlight beam feels smaller each time I turn it on. The batteries are thinning, the air is colder, and I can feel fatigue crawling up my arms. But I'll keep this signal alive as long as the power holds. If you hear me, stay inside tonight. Lock your doors, dim your lights. Don't answer every knock. And remember, we're still here. We're still talking. That's proof enough that the dark hasn't won. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 12:01 a.m. Eastern, midnight. The first day gone, the second bleeding in. Out the window, nothing has changed. The block is still black, the lamps dead, the sky closed over. Not even moonlight leaks through. It's a kind of dark I've never seen in a city before. The kind where your eyes never adjust because there's nothing to adjust to. Only the red glow of my inverter and the thin white circle of my flashlight keep me from feeling buried alive in shadow. I can hear things now I couldn't hear in daylight. A drip in the back room, steady as a metronome. The faint scuttle of something small, rat maybe, in the walls. My own breathing, loud in the silence. Just after 11:50, I heard someone whistle out on Cameron Street. One short note, then another, then nothing. I froze at the window, waiting to see if anyone answered. They didn't. The street swallowed it whole. The radio nets are restless tonight. On 7.238, a woman in Ohio said her town declared a shelter order. Not from an official channel, just police driving through neighborhoods with loudspeakers. She said the message was, "Stay inside after dark, for your safety." She said no one trusts who gave the order, but no one wants to test it either. Another voice from Montana said the courthouse flag was gone, the pole bare. He said people gathered on the steps, but no officials came. He said it felt like a funeral. An insider note came through just before midnight, signed Mariner. He wrote, "The freeze isn't about money. It's control. Every agency flagged suspended, except for security contractors. They're still paid." He ended with, "Government shut for the people, still open for the guards." If that's true, it explains the uniforms without names, the trucks rolling silent through towns. 3 calls. First, Elise in Boston. Her voice was tight, brittle. She said every ATM downtown has a paper sign. Out of service. She said people tried to pry one open with a crowbar. She said cops drove past, lights off, never stopping. She said a man handed out handwritten IOUs on notebook paper, swearing they'd be worth something when this clears. Elise said people actually took them. Next, Martin in Nashville. He spoke low, tired. He said the grocery near him went dark, freezers thawing. He said the manager opened the doors and told everyone to take what they could before it spoiled. He said people rushed in, arms full, some crying, some laughing. He said it was the first time in days he saw people smile. Last, Denise in San Francisco. Her voice cracked. She said the city went dark in rolling waves tonight. She said her building's power cut without warning and people in the hallway lit candles. She said she heard gunshots outside, then the sound of a helicopter. She said no one in her building went to the windows. They all sat in the dark, waiting for morning. It's 12:36 a.m. Eastern. The first day of this shutdown has ended with more silence, more darkness, more unanswered voices. My hands are numb, my throat is raw, but the mic is still hot, the signal's still alive. If you hear me, remember. Each day that passes is proof we're still standing, even if the systems aren't. Midnight is just another hour. Morning will come, even if the lights don't. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 1:07 a.m. Eastern. The night is deeper now, the kind of dark that presses in on you until you feel smaller just for being awake. The street outside hasn't moved in hours. No cars, no footsteps, not even the scrape of a branch or the shuffle of a raccoon. It's as if the city has been sealed in a jar and all the air slowly drawn out. The silence isn't peaceful. It's choking. At 12:45, I picked up faint chatter on 3.969 from a group in West Virginia. They said the guard locked the gates at a federal office building, leaving staff outside. One man said his wife worked there, and she came home with her badge still clipped to her coat, but the scanners refused to read it. "System suspended," the screen said. He told me she cried in the parking lot because she realized she no longer had a job, just a locked door. Another voice on 7.238 came from Arizona. A woman said trucks full of bottled water sat in a depot lot, drivers sleeping inside cabs, but no orders were given to unload. She said she knocked on a cab door and the driver told her, "We can't move without papers." No papers, no pay. She said she walked away, staring at pallets of water stacked high under floodlights while her neighbors boiled tap water on camping stoves. I received a message just after midnight from someone calling themselves Atlas. They said, "The official line is stalled appropriation. The truth is, systems are locked until signatures return. But signatures can't return if no one calls a session. It's a loop without an exit." They ended their note with, "There's no restart button, only collapse or rewrite." 3 calls. First, Jonah in Philadelphia. His voice was tense. He said a crowd gathered at an unemployment office tonight, shouting through the glass. He said guards stood inside but refused to open the doors. He said people smashed trash bins against the windows but gave up when nothing gave way. He said the only light on the street came from burning paper. Next, Rachel in Seattle. She sounded young, scared. She said the buses stopped running before dark. She said her brother tried to ride his bike home but came back shaken. He said whole stretches of the city were dark, businesses shuttered, no one answering. She said she could hear shouting blocks away but didn't dare look. She asked me if it's like this everywhere. I told her yes. Everywhere. Last, Henry in Kansas City. His voice cracked. He said his mother's Social Security check didn't come. He said the bank told him, "System hold, no disbursements." He said she cried at the counter. He asked me if the checks will ever come again. I told him the truth. No one can say Henry. Not tonight. It's 1:35 a.m. Eastern. The inverter hums faintly, the only sound in this whole room. My flashlight battery is thin, flickering every few minutes, but I'll keep it alive as long as I can. The silence outside is thick enough to hear my own heartbeat. If you're awake with me, don't let the darkness trick you into thinking you're alone. Other voices are out here, whispering through the static. We're still connected, even if the systems that once held us together are gone. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 2:03 a.m. Eastern. The world outside is a sealed jar now. I pressed my face to the glass of the front window a few minutes ago. Nothing. No glow, no headlights, no motion. Even the rain has stopped, leaving the pavement slick like black glass. You could believe the street is a photograph. The only sound is the low hum of my inverter and the soft scratch of this pen against paper. I keep thinking about how, just a week ago, this block was full of noise. Trucks braking, buses hissing at stops, kids cutting through the parking lot after school. Now it's just me and this signal. The smell inside the shop is colder too. Wet cardboard, old oil, and something metallic from the batteries. My coffee ran out hours ago. My stomach is a hollow drum. But my voice still works, and that's enough. The nets are quieter now, not because people aren't scared, but because many have gone silent. On March 9th, 1969 at 1:47 a.m., I caught a single male voice from North Carolina. He said his town's gas station shut down mid-fill, pumps locked, lights off, manager gone. He said he watched people leave their cars at the pumps and walk away in the dark. He said the silence after was like a graveyard. Another faint voice from Utah said the county courthouse there is boarded up. She said spray painted across the boards was the phrase, "until funded." She said she and her sister stood outside reading it in the glow of a candle. It looked like a tombstone, she said. An insider message came through at 1:55 a.m. from someone signing as Locke. They wrote, "Funds exist. Transfers exist. No authorization. Systems in hold loop until external override. Nobody knows who has the key," they ended with. "This is a soft freeze hardening into permanence." 3 calls. First, Marta in Chicago. Her voice was faint, like she was speaking under a blanket. She said grocery stores are empty, doors chained, guards posted. She said people gather outside in small groups, whispering about food trucks they've never seen. She said she's been living off crackers and tea for 2 days. Next, Ron in Jacksonville. He sounded angry, but also scared. He said the bridge near him was blocked off tonight, concrete barriers dragged into place. He said cars turned back, no detours posted. He said he asked one of the men standing there who they worked for and got no answer. He said it felt like someone closing the lid on a box. Last, April in Minneapolis. Her voice cracked. She said her father's medication ran out today. She said she went to 3 pharmacies, all closed or system down. She said a clerk whispered to her that even cash won't clear the logs, and sent her away. She asked me what to do. I told her to keep him warm, keep him hydrated, ask neighbors if anyone has spare doses. It's not enough, but it's all there is. It's 2:34 a.m. Eastern. The black outside the window is unbroken. My flashlight's beam is dimmer with each click. My throat is raw, but my voice is steady. If you're still hearing me, this is the hour when fear feels loudest. Don't let it trick you into thinking you're alone. Others are awake. Others are surviving. Write down what you see. Pass it on when you can. That's how we stay real. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 3:05 a.m. Eastern. The world outside hasn't shifted an inch. The lamps that flickered earlier never came back. The block is a slab of black glass, broken only when clouds shift and let the faintest smear of pale light from the moon bleed through. Even that is weak, almost gray, like it's too tired to shine. If you stand still at the window, it feels like you're looking into a bottomless pit. My reflection hangs there, pale and ghost-like, as if I'm broadcasting from the wrong side of the glass. It's colder now. The kind of cold that seeps into your wrists and the back of your neck. I wrapped myself in an old jacket I found in the storeroom here. Smells like dust and rubber, but it keeps the edge off. My stomach growls louder than the inverter, and every time I pause, I can hear it echo in this small room. There's no food left tonight. I'll stretch what's left tomorrow. Hunger is becoming a clock of its own, ticking just as loud as the one on the wall. The nets are quieter in some ways, but the voices that remain are sharper, like steel on stone. At 2:41 a.m., a man on 7.238 broke in from Ohio. He said the guard has sealed a distribution hub outside Columbus. Trucks are lined up outside the gates, engines dead, drivers sitting in cabs with arms crossed. He swore pallets of canned food and bottled water are stacked inside, waiting, but no orders to release them. He said families pressed their faces to the fence and begged the guards. One man asked if he could buy just 1 case with cash. The guard said nothing, just shook his head. The caller's voice cracked when he said, "We're starving next to mountains of food." On 3.969, a woman from Missouri whispered about the lights. She said whole neighborhoods go dark in waves, block after block. She said it doesn't feel like outages. It feels planned, like someone is rationing electricity without saying the word. She said when her block went dark, Neighbors lit candles in windows, one in each house, like lighthouses trying to remind each other they still exist. She said it looked beautiful for a moment, then terrifying when she realized everyone was waiting for someone to break a window and snuff those candles out. Insider chatter continues to drip in. One message came from someone signing Kepler. They said, "Funds intact. Treasury systems live, but clearance layers are stripped. Nothing can pass. Contractors still receiving manual transfers." They ended, "This isn't incompetence. It's engineered suspension." Another from Hollow claimed Social Security payments are queued but locked, waiting for a release code that never comes. She wrote, "We can see them. We can't touch them." Imagine that. Billions in limbo while people line up for bread they can't buy. 3 calls. Longer tonight because people can't hold it in anymore. First, Carla in Baltimore. Her voice shook with cold and exhaustion. She said the city imposed a midnight curfew. She said unmarked vans drove through with loudspeakers, telling people to return to homes. She said she saw one stop on Pratt Street, floodlights sweeping over doorways. She said a man stepped out with a clipboard, writing house numbers. She asked what that means. I told her the truth. I don't know. But lists never mean anything good in times like this. Second, Richard in Omaha. His voice was flat, the kind of flat that comes after tears. He said he went to the grocery store with his wife this afternoon. They stood in line for 3 hours. When they reached the counter, the clerk told them, "Cash only, exact change, 2 items max." He said his wife picked bread and milk. The clerk said the register froze on system not responding. He said guards pushed them back, told them to try again tomorrow. He said his wife dropped the loaf of bread in the parking lot and left it there. He asked me, "Noah, what's the point anymore?" I told him the point is her hand still holding his. That's the one thing the shutdown can't strip. Last, Elena in Los Angeles. Her voice was hushed, like she didn't want neighbors to hear. She said her power went out at dusk, then back at midnight. She said when she opened her window, the city skyline was dark except for scattered towers lit like teeth in a broken jaw. She said helicopters circled with searchlights, but no announcements. She said her neighbor swore he saw men unloading crates into a guarded building downtown. She asked me what's in the crates. I told her I don't know. Maybe supplies, maybe something else. I told her to focus on her block, her people, her water. Crates you can't see won't keep you alive. It's 3:38 a.m. Eastern. The world outside is still silent, and the lamps are still dead. My flashlight is dimmer each time I click it, and the batteries won't last much longer. My throat burns from speaking for hours, but silence would be worse. If you're hearing me, write down who you can count on. Mark the doors you can knock on. Don't chase rumors about trucks or crates. Survival is smaller than that now. It's the candle you light, the water you boil, the neighbor you trust. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, still here, still on the line. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 4:01 a.m. Eastern. The night feels heavier now. The dark has settled deep into the bones of this block. I leaned against the front window a few minutes ago, forehead pressed to the glass, and it felt like leaning into a void. No lamps, no headlights, not even the soft glow of a cigarette tip. Just absence. The air tastes like metal, like the inside of a coin jar. At 3:47 I heard engines again, low, rolling down Cameron Street. No lights, no horns, just the sound of tires slicing wet pavement. I crouched down and peeked through the blinds. 3 trucks this time, not 6. blacked out, beds covered, silhouettes in the cabs. They didn't stop. They didn't announce themselves, just passed like a silent patrol. After they faded, I realized I'd been holding my breath the whole time. The nets are raw this hour. On 7.238, a man from Indiana said their county courthouse is boarded up, plywood nailed across doors and windows, spray painted on the boards, closed until funded. He said people stood outside staring at it like a tomb. He said his father spat on the steps, muttered, "All that money gone, and we can't even get our own back." On 3.969, a woman from New Mexico said the food bank there locked its doors tonight. She said trucks arrived, unloaded crates, but volunteers were turned away. She said guards stood at the door, rifles slung, and told them distribution was delayed. She said people cried in the parking lot, staring at boxes of food stacked just beyond reach. Another insider note came through. This one from someone who called themselves Signal. They wrote, "The servers are awake, Noah. Every transaction request hits, but the approval layer has been stripped out. Think of it like a body without blood. Limbs intact, heart beating, but no circulation. We built a machine that requires constant signatures, and now the pens are gone." 3 calls this hour. First, James in Detroit. His voice was rough, cracking. He said the auto plant near him is dead quiet. He said men showed up to work, but the gates were chained. He said they stood in the rain staring at the locks until someone muttered, "It's over," and walked away. James said he's never seen grown men look so lost. Next, Leah in Brooklyn. Her voice shook. She said the subway gates are frozen. Trains sit in tunnels with their lights off. She said she walked the street instead and found bodegas shuttered, windows painted with the words, "Cash only" or "closed." She said she saw a man trying to trade cigarettes for bread. Last, Howard in Dallas. His voice was tired. He said the hospital near him has started charging patients at the door, cash up front before entry. He said he saw a man clutching his chest, begging to be let in, but the guards shook their heads. Howard asked if this is America anymore. I couldn't answer. Not honestly. It's 4:34 a.m. Eastern. The block outside is blacker than ever. My flashlight is fading, beam shrinking to a thin circle barely enough to see the page. The batteries won't last much longer. My voice is dry, my stomach empty, but the signal still carries. If you hear me, know this. The silence outside is not emptiness. It's people holding their breath, waiting, wondering if morning will come. And it will. Whether the lights return or not, the sun will rise. Hold on to that. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 5 a.m. Eastern. Dawn should be close, but the sky outside is still heavy and black, the kind that makes you forget the sun even exists. I pressed my ear to the glass a few minutes ago, hoping for some sign of the city waking. Birds, buses, even the faint roar of trucks on the highway. Nothing. Not a single note of morning life. Just silence, as if the night stretched itself longer to keep us pinned in place. At 4:42, I caught a faint hum of a generator 2 blocks north. It was steady, low, almost soothing. Then it cut out sharp, like someone yanked the cord. The silence afterward felt louder than the machine. That's how it is now. Every little flicker of normal life dies quick, leaving the dark even heavier behind it. The nets are restless. On 7.238, a man from Virginia said the power plant near him shut off its stack lights last night. He said the whole complex looked abandoned, though he swore he saw guards at the gate. He said the smoke stopped, the hum stopped, and even the air smelled different. Another voice out of Illinois said, City buses never rolled this morning. People stood at stops for an hour before realizing no driver was coming. They just scattered, shoulders hunched, heads down, like ghosts of commuters. An insider note came through at 4:50 from someone signing Beacon. They wrote, "This isn't a shortage. It's paralysis. Appropriations aren't moving, but contracts to security firms are still alive. Look at the pattern. No money for food, medicine, checks, or wages, but guards are paid. Guards and trucks." They ended their note, "What's being preserved isn't the people." 3 calls this hour. First, Amanda in Philadelphia. Her voice was thin. She said she walked past a post office this morning and saw stacks of mail inside, piled high against the windows. She said no one was there, no clerks, no lights, just abandoned letters. She said she pressed her hand against the glass and whispered her mother's name, hoping her check was in there. Next, Carl in Des Moines. He sounded bitter. He said the bank limited withdrawals again, $10 per person this time. He said people laughed, cursed, then pocketed the bills anyway because even scraps are worth something now. He said one man stood outside waving his 10 like a joke, shouting, "Who wants to buy a dream?" Last, Nora in Portland. Her voice cracked. She said the hospital near her neighborhood is turning away patients without cash. She said she saw a child wheezing in the lobby, mother begging. She said the guards told her to take him home. Nora asked me how a country can stop breathing for its own children. I didn't know what to tell her. It's 5:32 a.m. Eastern. The black outside is starting to pale just a little at the edges, the kind of gray that hints morning is crawling back whether the lights do or not. My throat is raw. My body feels hollow, but my voice is still here. If you can hear me, hold on for the light. It may not bring back the power or the systems or the answers we need, but it will remind you the world hasn't ended yet. We're still here. That matters. This is Noah Briggs, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 6:04 a.m. Eastern. The first gray smear of dawn is bleeding into the sky. Not bright, not warm, just enough light to push the darkness back a little. The clouds hang low and heavy, like wet wool stretched across the horizon. But at least I can see outlines again. The cracked pavement, the poles without lamps, the hollow windows of the pawn shop across the street. Everything looks colorless, drained. The night didn't end so much as fade into another shade of empty. I opened the back door a few minutes ago, just to breathe outside air. It was colder than I expected, sharp in the lungs. The street was silent. No birds yet, no footsteps, no engines. Just the distant echo of water dripping through a clogged gutter. I thought I saw a figure at the far end of the block, but when I blinked, it was gone. Maybe it was just the shape of a mailbox in the dim light. In this kind of half-dark, your mind plays tricks. At 5:47, I picked up a net from Pennsylvania, closer to home this time. A man from Lancaster said the county courthouse locked its doors yesterday, and this morning a guard told him, "Services suspended until further funding." He asked if he could at least file paperwork to prove his son's custody case, but the guard just shook his head. "No system to log it," he said. The man told me it felt like his son disappeared on paper, even though the boy was standing right next to him. On 3.969, a woman from Georgia said their town square was full of people yesterday, waiting for unemployment checks. She said word spread quick that nothing was coming. She said the crowd started chanting, "Where's our money?" until squad cars rolled in. The officers didn't speak, didn't try to calm anyone. They just sat with lights flashing, engines running. She said the crowd scattered. But not because they were afraid, because they realized no one inside those cars had any answers either. Another insider note, signed Haven, landed around 5:55. It said, "Think of it like a giant frozen clock. All gears turning, all ticks ready, but one pin removed. Without that pin, nothing moves forward. Not a paycheck, not a benefit, not a shipment. Just stasis." Haven ended their note with, "But time doesn't stop for people. They starve while the gears wait." Calls now. First, Eli in Chicago. His voice was ragged. He said his building lost water pressure last night. Faucets spit air, then silence. He said people filled tubs with what little they had before it drained out. He said neighbors were already knocking, asking to share. He told them no. He didn't want to, but he had to. He said the guilt is worse than the thirst. Next, Hannah in New Orleans. She sounded shaken. She said the levee pumps near her neighborhood were silent this morning. Usually she hears their constant hum, but now it's gone. She said an old man told her, "That hum was our heartbeat." She said she stood by the water and felt scared in a way she hadn't since the last storm. Last, Miguel in Phoenix. His voice cracked with anger. He said the bank told him his mortgage payment could not be processed. He said he waved cash in their faces, and the teller just shrugged. He said he walked out shouting, "What do we even owe anymore if nothing counts?" It's 6:36 a.m. Eastern. The street outside is pale gray now, shapes sharper but still lifeless. The silence of the night hasn't lifted. It just looks different in the light. My throat is burning, my stomach is empty, but the notebook in front of me keeps filling, page after page of a country unraveling in silence. If you hear me, daylight doesn't fix what broke, but it makes it easier to see the faces of those around you. Look at them. Hold them close. The sun is still rising. That means we're still alive.